Our story starts off today in a world where angels and demons coexist and where angels walk freely, trying to help people and free their souls, and where demons walk freely doing the exact opposite. Eden, Lucifer's sister, is sent to Earth by God to fight against Lucifer's plans. The story starts off with Judge Seaver, who is Lucifer himself, adjusting his tie and staring at himself in the mirror while laughing. A bit creepy. We hear a woman say, "I have been sent to Earth to thwart his attacks." On Earth, he is living his life as a judge. When he is walking through town, he runs into Pastor Mac. They clearly know each other and chat a little about how their day went, and Judge Seaver, Lucifer, tells him that he is having a great day because so many things are going his way. I think we know what that means. Pastor Mac tells him that he's struggling a bit at the ministry, that he does not know if he can do it anymore, that he's really struggling to love people unconditionally after hearing them confess their sins. He's finding it especially difficult to listen to inmates' confessions without judging them and showing unconditional love. He tells him he can't listen to one more murderer or child predator confess their sins. Judge Seaver tells him it's okay to think that way because sometimes humans are flawed, and he says, "But aren't we ourselves just one act away from being exactly like them?" Well, I don't know about you, but I'm certainly not. They see that it's about to storm, so they part ways. As Pastor Mac is driving home, his car breaks down. Boy, he's having a tough day. We then see a guy out enjoying a nighttime run. As he's running, he keeps looking behind him because he senses someone is there, but each time he looks behind him, no one is there. It's only him out on the road. He's running but falls and hurts his hand. He then hears growling and gets very scared. He gets up quickly and runs as fast as he can. As he's running past a chain fence, he hears what sounds like a dog run up against it, but no one is there. God, that's creepy. Pastor Mac is trying to get his car up and running again when he gets a phone call from a number he doesn't recognize. He answers, and a guy says, "You belong to your father, and so you shall carry out his desires, as the son of the father of lies." He thinks it's a prank and asks who is calling him. The call is interrupted by Randolph banging on his car window while clearly being chased. We hear many dogs barking loudly while chasing him. As he's trying to get into Mac's car to get away from the dogs, we see that he recognizes Mac. So he takes off running into the building next to them. Mac goes after him to see what's wrong with him. He's clearly terrified of something. By the way, now, as the viewer, we see that there are no dogs. There never were any dogs. Only Randolph can hear them. Pastor Mac takes out his gun and follows Randolph into the building. As he's looking for Randolph, he sees a homeless woman come out of nowhere, and she introduces herself as Eden, just Eden. Pastor Mac feels like something is going on, but he doesn't know what it is yet. Eden offers Mac a cookie and says his name. He asks her how she knows his name, but she changes the subject and keeps talking other things. He tells her that she's not even supposed to be in there as she's trespassing, and she replies, "I was waiting for you, and you know you're no longer a cop. Brian McDougal." He now thinks that she saw him in the newspaper or on the news, and that's how she knows who he is. But he tells her that she doesn't know a thing about him. Randolph is hiding and is listening to their whole conversation. Iden thinks that the pastor is carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders and is tired of the world. So she goes on to talk to him as if she has known him her entire life, saying that his father and grandfather were cops, and that he had always wanted to be a cop. He says he only wishes they'd beaten sense into him when he was younger. She tells him that she understands why he's tired after what happened. He gets really angry and starts shouting at her, asking her, "Who the heck do you think you are saying all of this to me?" It looks like he's going to hit her, so Randolph comes out and jumps on him, telling him to leave her alone. They start fighting and fall. They both struggle to get the gun. Pastor Mac gets the gun and points it at Randolph without saying a word. Randolph tells him to go ahead and shoot him, and he says, "Add one more to your list." Mac says to Randolph, "It's you." Randolph replies, "Yes, it's me." So now we know that they know each other. Randolph tells Mac to do it already. Finish him off. The homeless woman, Eden, asks Randolph why was he running from Mac. He said he wasn't. He said he was being chased by a crazy, vicious animal and ran into the building to get away. He asks Mac what he's even doing here since he doesn't work on this side of the street anymore. Mac says that he's not even supposed to be here tonight and that when he startled him by banging on the window, he automatically went into cop mode. Later, we find out how they know each other. They both were at a protest that was organized by Randolph. Mac was there with his chief's son during the protest. The chief's son later shot and killed Randolph's friend Aurelius Jenkins. Randolph gets angry, saying that his friend was respectfully and peacefully protesting, that he wasn't doing anything wrong, that he wasn't breaking any laws, that he wasn't a threat, and he was killed for no reason at all. While still pointing the gun, the pastor says, "You've made quite a name for yourself out of all of this." Randolph says that someone has to stand up for the city. He's so mad that the DA and he's angry that the mayor believed Pastor Mac's word over everyone else who spoke up at the protest. There were over 300 people who spoke up, who said that they saw his friend unarmed and unalived for nothing. He asked him how he and the chief's son were the only two at the whole protest who said the exact opposite and were believed. He's furious at the injustice of it all. Pastor Mac shouts, "You don't know how it works." But Eden interrupts him and tells him it must be painful and says the truth will set you free. We then find out that the pastor did try to speak up, but he was afraid. He was afraid of what would happen next. He said that his chief was a monster. He beat his wife and did a lot of corrupt things. I think he was scared of him because he said he would get that same evil look in his eye that his dad used to get when beating him and his mom. Mac and Eden have a conversation, and Eden tells him she's here to help people make decisions. Important decisions that will influence the shape of things to come, deciding the fate of many individual lives. As the viewer, we see that Pastor Mac is completely fed up with his life. He is tired. He is sick of where he lives and has lost faith in the people around him, even the ones he once trusted. We then see a young girl who was discharged from the hospital after 48 hours. She said they never keep her in, and she knows she's not crazy. This girl will come up a few times in this story, but there is no clear story with her character. Or maybe there was, and I just missed it. I don't get why she was even in this movie, honestly. I wish they would have dove a little deeper into her storyline. Nothing happens with her. Anyway, later we see the pastor telling Eden that he never had kids because he knows firsthand how bad parents can screw up a child. The two men then talk about how hard their lives were. Eden tells Randolph that she knows he had a horrible childhood too. She said his father used to tie his hands to his ankles and beat him up, then lock him in the closet for days on end. We then find out that the pastor's father would starve him for days on end, then make him sit across from him at the dinner table and force him to watch him eat his dinner and dessert, and he'd dare Mac to ask for some. After watching his evil monster father eat, he'd send him to bed starving. He'd have to go looking through the neighbors' bins to eat food every single day. If that wasn't traumatizing enough for a child to go through, Pastor Mac would also see his mother getting beaten within an inch of her life every other day. The saddest part was she never tried to leave him and kept all of it a secret. You can see Randolph is shocked to hear how bad Pastor Mac's childhood was. He is now realizing that he isn't the only one who had a horrible childhood. They are strangely bonding over this heartbreaking fact. Eden then says to them that you both have more in common than you'll ever know. We later learn that Pastor Mac is living most days in complete guilt. He can't live with himself for turning a blind eye to so much corruption while working in the police force. He feels guilty for not speaking up when he saw crooked cops planting drugs on innocent victims, or when he saw crooked cops lying on the stand. He and Randolph then talk about a kid named Tamir who was innocently walking home one day through a neighborhood while pushing his bike, and a cop asks him what he was doing there and tells him that he is not allowed in that area again. Tamir is apologetic and says he's not doing anything wrong and was just going home. The cop kicks his bike to the ground, and Tamir sees the cop getting angrier and angrier for no reason at all. Tamir gets scared and tries to run, but the officer pushes him to the ground, pulls at his hair, and handcuffs him. It's not said, but it's implied that the cop unalived him. Randolph is upset and says to Mac that he didn't do anything to stop that one, neither did you. Mac says that he tried. Well, you clearly didn't try hard enough, Randolph says. Randolph tells Eden that he protests because people like him need to fight against the abuse of power, because no one else in his area is doing anything about it. He's trying to wake people up so they can see what is going on around them. He's mad that no one is talking about it. Eden tells him to do that, to protest the injustice, but tells him he needs to do it the right way, without the fires, the looting, the breaking windows. To do it properly, it's his job to educate the people and teach them how to educate themselves. Pastor Mac and Randolph have a few heated words. Randolph is upset that he won't take responsibility for his own actions and that he never stood up for what is right, saying that in their area, Tamir was one of many who lost their lives, and no one seems to care. Mac points the gun at Randolph. Randolph says it's always about protecting you. your jobs, and your people even when they all lied. Randolph tells Mac to shoot him and says he's a coward. Mac tells him that the gun isn't for him, then points the gun at his own head. You can clearly see the pain in Mac's face. He's mentally exhausted, haunted by all the times where he never spoke up, and he says that there is no other way out. Eden tells him that there is another way and to put the gun down, and that he doesn't have to carry the weight around all the time. If he would just ask for forgiveness, and if he's truly sorry for what he has done, God will forgive him. Mac is really upset and asks why God should forgive him. Eden asks him if he is, in fact, sorry. While shaking, he starts crying and says yes, he is sorry, and that he wishes he had done the right thing when he was a cop, even if it would have cost him his life. He puts the gun down, and we see even Randolph is relieved. Eden asks Mac what he wants in life. While crying, he says that he wants peace and nothing else. By the way, guys, this whole time, Mac and Randolph haven't looked away from each other once. I feel like there's something powerful in that. It's like Mac was asking Randolph for forgiveness without asking him for forgiveness. He's crying, and as he's staring at Randolph, he said, "I want peace. I need peace. And I want forgiveness." Eden asks both Mac and Randolph what they believe in. Randolph says he believes in God, that he has a lot of questions for him, but yes, he does believe there is a God. Eden tells Mac that the peace that he desires is available, but he has to be willing to change. A very shaken Mac looks at his gun and pops out each bullet one by one, letting them fall to the floor. He gets a phone call, but he doesn't hear anyone on the other end. Randolph says he could kind of hear someone on Mac's phone and thinks the guy on the phone said something like, "Now is the time," or "Come now, it's the time." Eden then goes to the window, and it seems like she's watching someone. She tells Mac and Randolph to be clear-headed and alert because their enemy, the Dark One, is looking for someone to devour, like a lion looking for prey. She then gives Randolph some encouraging words, saying she looks forward to watching him grow into the leader he was born to be and to keep doing what he is doing. Later, we hear a loud noise outside. It sounds like a crash. Mac goes alone to investigate. The door locks behind him, and loud growls can be heard. We see Eden chanting as if she's praying for protection over him. Mac is terrified. He can see something huge trying to attack him. As the viewer, we can't see what it is, but it's obvious from Mac's reaction that it's something ungodly and evil. Eden shouts at the top of her lungs, "I said leave!" Mac finally gets the door open and is out of breath and shaken up by what has just happened. We then see the girl from earlier walking past the building. She finds a black feather and picks it up. Mac is sitting on a step, crying and watching a video on his phone of his late wife telling him that she loves him and that he's her hero. We learn that his wife has passed away. Randolph overhears the video and asks him if he's okay. Eden says what he does next is all in his hands. Mac says, "If I go through with it, you know what will happen to me." Eden tells him that she knows what will happen to him if he doesn't go through with it. I'm guessing here they are talking about Mac speaking out about the corruption in his old police department. She tells him to be the hero, to speak up for the greater good. Always do the right thing, otherwise you are just as guilty as the ones who have committed the crime. But he can find peace by putting a stop to it right now, and this is his new beginning. Take hold of it now, and that she could see him going on to create good things for people around him. She then tells him that there are so many good cops out there just as scared as he is, and that they need someone like him to look up to, that they are waiting for someone like him to stand up and lead the way for them. He then walks over to Randolph and hands him a USB flash drive, saying it's full of files, emails, and photos, and it has the dashcam footage of the day of the shooting. He said that he had it in his pocket for a long time, trying to pluck up the courage to give it to someone to get it all out there. Randolph says to Mac that we can do this. We can do this together. They look to Eden for advice, but she has vanished. We then see Eden walking outside. She is about to be attacked by two young boys. She warns them not to do it, but they go to attack her. She pushes them off with an invisible force, terrifying the cowards. They run off. Watching her is the same girl that we keep getting glimpses of throughout the film, and this time she finds a white feather. We see her at home pinning the feather to a map on her wall. There are lots of feathers pinned to different locations on the map, obviously on the locations where she finds them. She stares at all the black feathers on the wall, then takes out the white one and says to herself, "I was right. She is here." We then see Eden with long white hair and wearing a cloak walking up to a church. She is greeted by a woman, Sister Anne. I'm not sure if she's a nun or if Eden greets everyone as sister and brother. Sister Anne is shocked to see her and says that she can't believe that this is real. She says to come inside because a storm is coming. Eden looks at her and says that the storm is already here. They have a discussion inside about how the prophecy is being fulfilled and that now is the time. Sister Anne says that they are ready, that they have been waiting centuries for this moment. We then see Eden talking to God, saying that she is ready, that she will serve him and only him, and to use her now for the greater good. Outside is the judge we saw earlier, Lucifer, who is walking up the stairs of the church in a creepy way. Eden feels that he is there. He starts scraping at the door and he's growling. Eden opens the door. He calls her sister. She tells him that she has missed her brother and he says the same to her. He gives her flowers and says that he wants to go back to how it used to be. But she says they can't. That what he has done cannot be undone. He tells her that he did awful things, but his biggest regret is losing her, his sister, and that there must be something that he can do. He says to give him another chance to prove himself. He begs her to let him into the church, but he can't get in unless she invites him. She eventually turns him away and closes the door. We see the devil throwing a tantrum when he doesn't get his way. Later, we see Randolph watching the news about how someone came forward with new footage of the Aurelius Jenkins police shooting and emails showing widespread corruption in the police force. So the can of worms has been opened now. So I bet Mac is finally at peace with himself. Now we're back in the young girl's apartment again. We still don't know her name, but she's at home alone in her apartment, mostly lit by candlelight. It seems like she was woken up by loud lightning and the sounds of police sirens. We see her walk to her art easel and paint what looks like a portrait of herself. I feel like there is supposed to be some sort of message in that final clip, but I didn't really get it. If anyone has seen this and understood the meaning of that abrupt ending, please feel free to explain it to me, fill me in. So our story ends there, guys. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button so that you'll know when I upload again. I upload weekly, so don't miss my new video coming soon. Take care, guys.